Good morning, students, and this will be my 14th lecture in the Engineering Thermodynamics series. And today we will once again discuss the second law of thermodynamics in brief and move on to see how a numerical problem on heat engine and refrigerator can be solved. Today, if time permits, we will also discuss a very important concept of thermodynamics, that is a reversible process and about an irreversible process. So, just to recapitulate the previous things, let us recall that second law of thermodynamics we have stated in two different statement forms. One was given by Kelvin and Planck, the other one was given by Clausius. Kelvin-Planck statement says that it is impossible to construct an engine operating in a cycle to produce net work while exchanging heat between reservoirs at single fixed temperature. We have understood the meaning of this statement, that if there are two reservoirs at two different temperatures, then if the engine will interact heat in terms of heat transfer with the reservoirs, then it is possible that it will produce some useful output work. Without rejecting heat to the sink, for an engine it is not possible to produce net work. That is what Kelvin and Planck precisely say. And this principle is applicable to all heat engines and all power plants which deliver power as a result of consumption of energy in thermal energy form, in heat form. The second statement was given by Clausius, who says that it is impossible to construct a device operating in a cycle to transfer heat from cold region to hot region, or a body at low temperature to a body at high temperature without the help of any external work, which implies that with the help of some external work, it is possible for a device operating in a cycle to transfer heat from cold body to hot body. And exactly this phenomenon is used as the working principle of devices such as power absorbing devices such as refrigerator and heat pump. What does a refrigerator do? It maintains the temperature of a body at a value less than that of the surroundings, and for that it has to continuously extract heat from the body kept inside it to the heat to the atmosphere which is at higher temperature. So this is a kind of heat transfer taking place from low temperature region to a high temperature region, and this can be accomplished by the refrigerator only by absorbing some external work. So work is given as input in a refrigerator. Coming to heat pump, the working principle is same. The only purpose is that a heat pump maintains the temperature of a body or a region at a value higher than that of the surroundings. If you remember, I was giving the example of Switzerland or some European countries where the outside temperature is very less, sub-zero, and the inside the room you have to maintain a temperature of which is suitable for human comfort, like 20 degree or 25 degree centigrade. So in such cases, heat gets transferred from the cold region, that is outside atmosphere, to the room, that is the hot body, and in a unnatural, which is otherwise unnatural, and for this you have to supply some work to the heat pump externally. So by this it is possible, and after this discussing this, we also saw how the efficiency of an engine, the coefficient of performance of a refrigerator, and the coefficient of performance for a heat pump are defined and represented in terms of, expressed in terms of Q1 and Q2, where Q1 and Q2 are the magnitude of heat transfer, that is heat exchange, that is taking place between the high temperature reservoir and the low temperature reservoir. For some devices, the high temperature reservoir is the source, for example, the heat engine, and for devices like refrigerator, heat pump, the cold body is the source. Okay. So with this we will move on to solving a problem, and I told you that if you are given the values of Q1 and Q2, then you can find out what is W and what is COP or efficiency, because this is only an arithmetic exercise. W is equal to Q1 minus Q2. Once Q1 and Q2 are known, you can find out W. Once you know W, then W by Q1 gives you the efficiency of an engine if it is an engine problem, and Q2 by W gives you the COP of refrigerator if it is a refrigerator problem, and Q1 by W is the COP of the heat pump if it is a heat pump problem. Now today we will be talking of a coupled device where an engine will be there and the engine will be giving you some work. Some work comes out of the engine as an output, and this work is fed to the refrigerator, which is driven by the engine by consuming this work. And in that arrangement, some information will be given to you, and you have to find out the unknown data, right? So we can write a problem. Using an engine of 30% thermal efficiency to drive a refrigerator, having a COP of 5. Find the amount of heat input to the engine for every megajoule of heat removed from the cold body by the refrigerator. So the problem reads like this. Note down the problem, read the problem once and read it twice. Using an engine of 30% thermal efficiency. So there is an engine whose thermal efficiency is 30%. And that is used to drive a refrigerator having a COP of 5. This engine is driving a refrigerator whose COP is 5. What you have to do? You have to find the amount of heat input to the engine. Engine में जो heat input दिया जा रहा है, that you have to find out. For what situation? For every megajoule of heat extracted from the cold body by the refrigerator. You know that refrigerator's job is to extract heat from the cold body. So how much heat is extracted from the cold body? Say 1 megajoule. And for every 1 megajoule of heat removed from the cold body by the refrigerator, which is driven by a heat engine of 30% efficiency, what should be the heat input to the engine? First, try to visualize the situation. There is an engine. The engine drives a refrigerator efficiency of the engine is known, COP of the refrigerator is known, how much heat the refrigerator is extracting from the cold body, that is known, how much of heat is to be given by the source to the engine for the purpose of refrigeration is needed to be found out. Take some time and try to absorb the problem. It's very simple. Then we will draw the schematic of the problem, make the arrangement, make a list of given information, and we'll see how to proceed and how to solve this problem. Clear? So once again I am reading the problem. Using an engine of 30% thermal efficiency to drive a refrigerator having a COP of 5, COP is coefficient of performance. Find the amount of heat input to the engine for every megajoule of heat removed from the cold body by the refrigerator. Okay. Now, I think you have understood the problem. Now we will move on to give a sketch of this arrangement where an engine and a refrigerator are coupled. Okay. So we know how to draw the schematic diagram of an engine, how to draw the schematic diagram of a refrigerator. Alright. And here these two things are coupled. Coupled by what? The work coming out of the engine is going to the refrigerator. So that is a link. So this is the engine. Now this engine produces W amount of work by absorbing Q1 amount of heat and rejecting Q2 amount of heat. Right? So how many Q terms we have in this arrangement? There has to be 4 Q terms. 2 Q terms for the engine Q1 and Q2 and 2 heat terms for the refrigerator. Okay. So Q3 and Q4. Right? Now, then we have a refrigerator, and this refrigerator is consuming the work delivered by the engine. So this is the source for the engine, this is the sink for the engine. For the refrigerator, this is the cold body from which heat is extracted. Right? The cold body will be at a temperature less than that of the surrounding, that means that less than that of the hot body. So the hot body is here, and for a refrigerator, you know, hot body is the atmosphere. So let us say Q3 is the amount of heat extracted from the cold body, and W is the external work given to the refrigerator. If you visualize the refrigerator separately, then W is the external work. If you visualize the engine separately, then W is the output work. Here for a refrigerator it is input, for the engine it is the output. And coincidentally in this problem, because no more information, no more extra information is given, we will assume that all the work that the engine develops will go to drive the refrigerator. So this is like this. So let us call it Q4. Right? So what is W? Q1 minus Q2. So W is Q1 minus Q2 and W is also Q4 minus Q3. If you look at this as a refrigerator only, so Q3 plus W is equal to Q4. Okay. So what are the given information? Given information or given data. Given information or given data is that for every megajoule of heat removed from the cold body, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, which term is representing the amount of heat removed from the cold body? That is Q3. So Q3 is 1 megajoule. Right? What else? This is a heat engine of 30% efficiency. What is the efficiency of the engine? 0.3. What is the COP of the refrigerator? That is 5. For every megajoule of heat removed from the cold body, what should be the heat input to the engine? That means what is to be found out? Q1 is to be found out. This is the summary of the problem. Summary of the problem. This is not the solution. This is the summary of the problem. It says that these are the given information. This is the arrangement of the two devices that are coupled with each other, and we have to find out starting from here, we have to reach here and find out what is Q1. So how that can be done? Very simple. The common link between them is W. So out of Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 we only know the value of Q3. Q3 is the only heat term that you know. So how that is related to the COP? COP of the refrigerator is amount of heat extracted from the cold body by the work input. Work input is W. And coincidentally this work input to the refrigerator, I am repeating, is the work output from the engine. So 5 is equal to 1 by W or W is equal to 1 by 5 megajoules. That is 0.2 megajoules. 0.2 megajoules. Right? 0.2 megajoules is 200 kilojoules. Now efficiency of the engine is W by Q1 and eta is 0.3. So eta is 0.3. So what is Q1? So W by Q1 is 0.3. So Q1 is equal to W by 0.3 and W is 200 by 0.3 kilojoules, and that is equal to 667 kilojoules. So Q1 is equal to 667 kilojoules, 666.6 or 667 kilojoules approximately. So starting from Q3 we reached here through the link, that is common link, that is W, and got the value of Q1. Very simple. Only you have to understand, visualize, and you should be able to draw the arrangement. Okay. You may also come across problems where all the work that are generated by the engine will not go to drive the refrigerator. Maybe half of that will be used for refrigerator. In that case, here it will be W, but for here it will be W by 2. Maybe 1/3 of the work output of the engine will be used for the refrigerator to be driven. In that case, output here will be W, but input here will be W by 3, and the remaining work will go for some other purpose, because it is not that only the only purpose of engine is to drive a refrigerator. Maybe partly to drive a refrigerator and mostly for some other thing. Okay, so there may be situations. So you have to understand the language of the problem. I solved the simplest one, where all the work that are generated in the engine are going to the refrigerator for it to be driven. So the heat input is 667 kilojoules to the engine for every megajoule of heat removed from the cold body. Right? I hope you are in a position to grasp this concept of coupled device. We will go to a very important concept of thermodynamics now. That is a reversible process and an irreversible process. Please be careful and listen to every word I am telling, because understanding the concept of reversibility requires some philosophical base. You have to think it philosophically and understand reversible process is not like a process which can be reversed is reversible. No, it is not as simple as that. You have to understand what exactly a reversible process is and why the processes occurring in nature are not reversible. What are the causes that make the processes irreversible otherwise, and how to attempt to make the process more and more and more reversible, and why. So these are the things that you must understand. So I will give you the definition of a reversible process. I'll write it. I'll write it on the board so that you can note it down. But first listen to the definition. A process can be said to be reversible if at the conclusion of the process the system can be taken back to its original state along the same path in such a way that there is no sign of its occurrence left on the rest of the universe. I'll make it little more simpler. A reversible process is one at the completion of which the system can be taken back to its original state along the same path without leaving any trace of its occurrence. Okay, if this is possible, then the process will be called a reversible process. First you write, then I will explain. A reversible process is one at the completion of which the system can be restored or taken back, to its original state or initial state along the same path without leaving any trace or sign of its occurrence on the surroundings. The concept is very important. A reversible process, you have to understand when a process is said to be reversible. Suppose a process happens, if, this is a big if, remember, if after the process has already occurred, if the system can be taken back to its original state or initial state along the same path which it had followed during the occurrence of the process, along the same path, in such a way that there will be no sign, there will be no trace of its occurrence on the surroundings. That means it will be exactly the same, everything will be exactly same as it was before the occurrence of the process. I am sure still it is not clear. For example, say that means when a process occurs, it might be creating some noise, it might be creating some turbulence, there may be some friction, there may be some wear and tear happening. But when the reverse process is carried out, can all these losses that are due to noise, friction or wear or turbulence are recovered? Question is, are they recovered? That means, because if they are not recovered, they remain as a loss to the surroundings. They remain as an imprint on the surroundings. Some noise has been created in the first process, and in the second process some more noise has been created instead of the previous noise being erased out. Then in that case what happens? Rather the sign is more or doubled. So sign is not getting abolished. So it is not a reversible process. For example, I am giving an example, and I will repeat this in the next class once again. That suppose there is a box or there is a heavy body and there is a hill, and you are, say, pushing the box to the top of the hill. So you are doing some work and take it to the top of the hill, right? This is a process. Now I came after 1 hour, and within that 1 hour again you brought the box from the hill, top of the hill, to the foot of the hill along the same path, same track, so that I cannot make out that the box was ever displaced. Is it possible? While the box was pushed up, there must be some noise, there must be some wear and tear, there must be some sign on the floor, on the ground. So while you come back, will they all be recovered? There are some frictional loss while taking it up. Will the frictional loss gets restored when you are bringing it down? The answer is no. Rather, the frictional losses will be doubled up almost. Okay. So this is not possible to push a box up the hill and then push it down the hill to the same place, although it appears that nothing has happened, but something has happened, and that something which has happened has been registered on the surroundings, that means on the nature. So you are going there and coming back, there are some noise created, that noise must have gone to somebody else, or that wear and tear has occurred on the ground. So the wear and tear is there, the frictional losses are there, there may be some wear and tear on the surface of the box itself. The wear and tear are not going to be recovered when it is brought down. So this is a process where some losses are taking place which are not recovered even when it is brought back to its initial position. Even when you say that the displacement is zero, the box is exactly there where it was before the process occurred, even then you cannot guarantee that it is not leaving any trace, any sign of its occurrence on nature. Similarly, in thermodynamics, if you make an analogy that if some thermodynamic process is taking place or occurring, then that process will be associated with some kind of disturbances, some kind of noise, some kind of turbulence, some kind of friction, and even if care is taken to bring it back to the original state along the same path, still these losses are not recovered and they are registered in the surroundings of the system. That means they are registered in the universe, and such processes cannot be called reversible process. Only that process will be called a reversible process where this concept of all the losses being recovered and there is no sign of its occurrence, that condition must be satisfied. Okay, then only we will call it a reversible process. So a reversible process, once again you read this definition not once, read it 10 times and try to visualize, think it philosophically, then only you will understand what is a reversible process. Remember, a reversible process is not like something has happened and again it has been taken back to the original point along the same path. एक प्रोसेस ऐसे हुआ फिर ऐसे हो गया तो ये रिवर्सिबल हो गया. नो, That is not the definition. Definition is much more deeper, and you need to have an understanding of what a reversible process is, so that we will get an idea about the concept of reversibility and irreversibility. And this concept of reversibility is very very important in analyzing thermodynamic problems, thermodynamic activities, thermodynamic systems, and thermodynamic like arrangements. Okay, whether it is a case of improving its performance, whether it is a case of improving its efficiency, whether it is a case of the minimizing the losses, whether it is a case of minimizing the cost. So everywhere this reversibility will be a very, or irreversibility will be a very important parameter which will attract and draw the attention of the engineers. Alright, so we will, next class we will start again with the same definition of reversible process, which goes like this: that a reversible process is one at the completion of which the system can be restored to its original state along the same path without leaving any trace of its occurrence on the surroundings. This much for today. Think over it, and in the next class we will again start our discussion from the definition of reversible process. Thank you.